hypothesis is, in some sort of nutshell, the idea that the collective actions of life on the planet are helping to create their own conditions to flourish, and that life is also somehow involved in stabilizing and self-regulating some key planetary properties like the climate or the oxygen content of the atmosphere. All of that doesn't sound too controversial, does it? But actually, if you're an evolutionary thinker, it's deeply problematic, because the perspective of evolutionary thinking is very much, how do individuals, and this might these days be thought of as individual genes, let alone individual organisms, how do they make as many copies of themselves as possible? It often got misconstrued that Gaia was like a giant argument for altruism on the part of everything. I sometimes use the metaphor of an ordinary chair. Upright is one stable state of the chair, but lying on its back is another stable state. And if you lean back on the chair, you get to this point where a small nudge one way or the other is going to take you. You and I as organisms can have tipping points. It's true of major parts of the climate system, like ice sheets, large parts of the ocean circulation, monsoons, big biomes like the Amazon coupled to the atmosphere. It's also true of social dynamics. Everybody says, tipping points, it's unpredictable. But actually, because they're truly a general behaviour, and because by definition they mean that something that was self-stabilising and resisting perturbation is getting weaker, then we can watch a system over time. We can see when it's far from a tipping point, you hit it, it bounces back quickly to where it wants to be. You get towards a tipping point, you hit it, it bounces back slower because it's losing its resilience, as we like to call it, and that's a crucial early warning signal. I sort of take the view of, if life has done such a fantastic job of not just maintaining itself, but actually flourishing, often in the face of adversity, for about 3.8 billion years, then maybe there are some clues to be learned from the biosphere as to what makes a long and happy life flourishing on this planet. The whole biosphere is flourishing because it's doing an incredible job of recycling all the material stuff it needs and keeping hold of it within the system. And of course that means it's using some of what we call as physicists that free energy from the sun to make the material cycling as efficient as possible. If you contrast it with the human endeavour or project at the moment, we look to be doing a really bad job in comparison. We would get poor grades from Gaia. So I think the challenge we give to ourselves, that I call kind of, can we make a Gaia 2.0, is can we do self-aware self-regulation? Can we become part of a new kind of feedback loop where we realise that our collective actions are not ultimately good for us or for many other parts of our life support system, and we consciously, collectively change the way we do things in society accordingly, and then that alters those actions. I feel some of the hardline geoengineers haven't kind of got Gaia or even got a system thinking completely. I might be being a little unfair, but I feel like it sort of fits in the old world view, the clock world view, that we screwed the climate up, but let's come up with a novel big scale solution, sticking plaster, medicine, whatever, that's going to correct this other big mistake we unwittingly made. If you scratch your head on that one a bit, you'll quickly start thinking, hold on, might not this create its own problems? Might it not be a new kind of mistake because we haven't thought of all of its unintended consequences? For many of us, we would say the best place to start is go back to the root cause of trouble. Try and reduce those greenhouse gases, and if you can't reduce them, okay, you've got to work out some way of drawing the ones that are long-lived out of the atmosphere. But you don't let all of that continue and just try and whack on some other novelty kind of untested medical intervention on top of the mess you're already making. It's not going to end well. We certainly are going to have to repair some damage we've done. we are going to have to regenerate some of the other bits of the biosphere around us that are our life support system. But maybe you work with them and you work from the bottom up. I think maybe to as a first line of approach for me, and a far less risky one.